Yes. Good afternoon. We are live on Facebook. I'm Beth Copeland with Georgia Christian Business Network, and our vision is to put God back in business. I am thrilled today. I'm honored as well to be able to present to you our guest for today on our Take Charge Tuesday Power Call. I have the privilege of introducing to some and presenting to others Mandisa Styles. And she's as beautiful inside as she is outside and has a name to complement all of that. And so today, we have an outstanding opportunity, kingdom business owners, to legal up, is what God said to me. Really to dot those I's and cross those T's and to learn the opportunities where we thought they were dotted and they were crossed and they really aren't. So does your business need to experience the Styles firm? We've been promoting you, Mandisa, sharing about who you are and the wonderful accomplishments and the things that you're doing currently. And now is your opportunity, as we give all of our guests, to present yourself, to introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and why they really need to know this.
So my name is Mandisa Styles, and I am a practicing Georgia attorney. My business is primarily entrepreneurship and business-related law. And some of those areas allow me to represent clients outside of the state of Georgia. So it kind of feels like I have a reach kind of all over the place, and not just restricted to the state of Georgia, thankfully. So my story and how I ended up where I am now is, and I'll go a little bit more into this when we start the presentation, but I actually started a business of my own, non-legal related, completely just the creative project that I was doing maybe about 3 years ago, 2019. And through that process, I knew nothing about business law. In fact, I was practicing family law at the time. I was working in the court system doing primarily divorce and family custody issues at the time. And so I had no idea about business law or anything like that that went into starting and owning a business and the legal side of things. And so through that process, I made a lot of mistakes and ended up having to close that business, but it allowed me to learn what went into actually protecting the legal side of your business and created a passion for me to help other people to do that today. So that's what my firm primarily focuses on now. We do a lot of trademark and copyright protection, do a lot of contract work, business entity formation, and things of that nature. So I'm blessed and thankful that God has had me, to come to this point in my career, and I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. So when Beth presented the opportunity to speak to everyone today, I had to do it.
Awesome. And we are so thankful. I want to let the people know that your testimony is so powerful and really mirrors that of a lot of business owners in some regards. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And I know you'll get more into that because you have a presentation. So I want you to feel comfortable to lead, direct. Thank you for joining us on Zoom, Bernice, and those that will come. Hopefully you'll jump on Zoom with us. And for those that are already on Facebook Live or those to come from the replay, we want you to jot down any questions. Of course, if you're on the replay, we'll get back with you. But today, I will field those. Lisa Muth is probably already over there on Facebook Live, taking those opportunities to address to Mandisa so we can get your expert knowledge in that regard.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And they can just add questions in as they come up. And of course, at the end, we'll be able to, open it up.
Okay. So, that's the way we'll do it, then.
I will go ahead and start sharing my screen.
Okay.
Second. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Share screen. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. So course, my name is Mandisa Styles, and I am the managing attorney and founder of the Styles firm. And today's presentation is called Do Business in Style. It's actually a pending trademark that I have of my own for my firm. I don't preach anything that I am not willing to do for myself, or try to sign up for people for things that I don't think are important for me to do as well, because even though I'm an attorney by nature of owning my own firm, I'm an entrepreneur as well. And so a lot of the things that I suggest my clients to do, I have to do as well. And one of those things is the trademark. So that's why you see the little TM symbol next to Do Business in Style, because that's actually a pending trademark of my own. And then at the bottom there, you can see the copyright symbol for this presentation. And that we'll also get into a little bit about that and the importance of that as we continue going. But today's presentation is called Do Business in Style. So who am I? Why should you even listen to what I have to say about business? So I went to Georgia State University, graduated in 2013 with my Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science. And between graduation and going to law school, I ended up taking a year off to focus on preparing for law school and just getting some real world experience. And so I worked at a bookstore. I love reading. And so it was the natural thing for me to do as far as where I was going to go and work. So I have experience actually being on the employee side of a business and being able to see how it's run from the inside. And now having the experience of actually owning a company and knowing what both sides of that equation looks like. So I went to law school in 2017. I went to Mercer and obtained my degree. And I passed the Georgia bar exam on the first try, thank God, because I don't know.
Very good.
I don't know if it would have played out any differently if I would have taken that test again. It was probably, I still have nightmares occasionally of that test. And if there are any people out there who are going to law school or preparing for the bar exam, I feel your pain and I am praying for you. My spirit and my prayers are going up for you. But after passing the bar exam, I started working in the Georgia Superior Court system as a staff attorney in Newton and Walton County, which are about 30 to 45 minutes outside of the city of Atlanta. And so, like I said earlier, I was primarily doing family law and child custody issues. We were also doing adoptions and really all kinds of different cases, because the counties that we sat in, we didn't have a state court. And so all of the issues that would have been separated out in a bigger county, we saw all of them. So on the civil side, we saw family issues, we saw business related issues, we saw landlord tenant issues, property disputes, all different sorts of things. And then on the criminal side, we also got the experience to see any kind of case from speeding tickets all the way up to, unfortunately, murder. And so it gave me a very well-rounded experience of the law and being able to see exactly what I wanted to do. So about 2 years into the position, I started in 2018. Like I told you earlier, I started my first business in 2019. So about 2 years into the position, I started realizing I'm not as fulfilled as I thought that I would be by doing what I'm doing. So of course, by having, an entrepreneurial family and, having a background just in being interested in business just from a young age, I started a business. It was a creative business called The Culture Shock, and it was my response to the injustices of the world, in a way for me to bridge the gap between people who just were so different and thought that they were so different because they come from different backgrounds. So I traveled all over the state of Georgia, interviewing people from all different places. I interviewed people from Zambia. I interviewed people from Pakistan and Panama, all different places. And I started a podcast as an extension of that business, and just sharing those stories with people to help them realize we're not so different at all, honestly. And about 4 months into doing that, I started to learn about the legal side of business, what kind of contracts I needed to have in place, what kind of business entity I need to form with the Secretary of State, and then, of course, trademarks. And so as I started to learn about that process and try to figure out, well, what do I need to do for my particular business? What do I need to do for the culture shock? I actually ended up finding out that someone else had the registration for a trademark to the culture shock for exactly what I wanted to do with it, or what I was doing with it.
Awesome.
So
Oh my
it
God.
it ended
Oh
up,
my God.
it's heartbreaking at the time, because it was just like, God gave me this idea and I'm running with it, but how could you have it just kind of crash and burn like that? And I don't believe anything in the kingdom is wasted. And so that started my desire to learn about business law. And so that started the fuel for what I'm doing now. So I ended up leaving the.
I have to interject at
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
point, Mandisa, is that I often, I've coined this phrase, God has a plan, and we are part of that plan. And the opportunity is that sometimes we don't understand how the plan will play out,
Right.
because a lot of people would have been disheartened at the idea that, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm doing what you tell me to do, God, and now someone else has it. But
Right.
it stirred you,
Yeah.
the direction. It was a steering type. It stirred you to another level of success, but it steered you in the direction that God would have you to go. And you learn opportunities
Yeah.
from that, of what you needed to help others with. I think
Right.
that is just so outstanding.
And you know what's crazy is, at the time it was very heartbreaking. So I did have a
I'm
period
sure.
of being disheartened, and like, for lack of a better way to put it, I was mad at God, because I was just like, how could you do this to me, your daughter? I love you so much, and you gave me this idea just for it to crash and burn. But like you said, sometimes we don't understand what he's doing in the middle of it until we've come to the other side of it. And I don't know if I'm even fully to the other side of it, because I'm just watching God move, and how he has expanded and opened territories that I had no idea I would ever be able to walk into. So I'm grateful, 100% grateful. But that whole process made me realize, if I, as an attorney, can make these kinds of mistakes, other people are definitely making these kinds of mistakes. And so, of course, it led me to where I am now. So I left the court last year in December, actually. Had planned to leave a little earlier, but of course, COVID hit everybody kind of unexpectedly. So I ended up staying a little longer than I had previously anticipated. But I left in December of last year, and I ended up launching the firm in March of this year. So it's a brand new firm, and still, kind of getting its feet and its bearings about itself. But I'm grateful for where God has gotten me in the past, what was that? 9 months. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm excited to see where he takes it, because just the trajectory that he's taken me so far. Like I said, I'm surprised that I'm even, where I am now. And so if I'm surprised by where I am 9 months in, I can only imagine what God is planning to do in the coming months and coming years. And so
Most definitely. Most definitely. Oh my God.
so that's a little bit about me, and why you should have at least listened to what I have to say about business law. So I wanted to jump in at this point, because I think entrepreneurship has different phases. And I've kind of broken it out into 3 different phases, and I'm sure there are like some in-between areas here as well. But for the most part, we all can kind of either put ourselves in one of these 3 phases. We're either at phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. And as I go through this presentation, whether you're currently watching or if you're watching the replay, I want you to put a number 1, a number 2, or a number 3 in the chat, depending on where you find yourself in these phases. So phase 1 is what I've called ideation, the ideation phase. And it's where you're thinking of your business idea. You haven't actually gotten started yet, but you're saying, I want to start a business, but I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. Well, or I want to start a business. I know what it's going to be, but I'm not ready to take that leap yet. Maybe you're working a really secure job like I was last year. I had really good health benefits, and leaving a full-time government sponsored position to start your own business, it's a scary leap to take. So maybe you find yourself in the ideation phase of, I'm thinking of starting a business. I may or may not know what it's going to be, but I have not made that leap yet. So if you find yourself in phase 1, drop a 1 in the chat. Phase 2 is the startup phase. You're ready to start your business. You know what you want it to look like, and you're ready to start as soon as possible. Or you started the business, maybe you've started taking clients, but you have not addressed anything on the legal side of things. So if you're in that phase, you're in phase 2. So drop a 2 in the chat if you are in phase 2 of entrepreneurship. Now, phase 3 is where a lot of people probably on the call are going to find themselves. And that's what I call our seasoned veterans. And the seasoned veterans sounds more intimidating than it actually is. Maybe you started your business, you started taking clients, and you started to address some of the legal framework. Maybe you filed your LLC, or maybe you started working with some contracts between you and your clients, or you and your business partners, or what have you, but you haven't addressed everything. So if you find yourself in that position, I would call you a seasoned veteran in that you've started some of the entrepreneurship side of things, but maybe haven't addressed all of the legal side of things. So if you're in phase 3, drop a phase 3 or a number 3 in the chat down below. Just so that I know kind of who I'm talking to, and who are on the call listening, and also in the replay if there are any questions, and I'll be able to tailor my answer based off of what phase you're in. But do we?
Okay, so what you've got? Yes, you've got some responses over on Facebook Live. Jennifer, hello, how are you, Jen? And Toby, good to have you guys out there, and a couple of others that I can't tell who they are out there. Let me identify yourself. I'd love to know who's out there. Oh, Agatha, how are you? Oh my gosh, she's a 3. Okay. Agatha. Toby says, I have 3 businesses, LOL. So I am a 1, 2, and a 3.
I love it.
Okay. And then Jennifer says she's a 1. Okay. And then Toby again is a 2. So I guess that's prior to her deciding to share with us that she's got all these businesses. So she's coming out of the closet today. Okay. And of course, I would fall under 3. Gotcha. For definite. I want to put that in there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, no matter where you fall on the spectrum, I want to, go ahead and let everyone know what I have to present today is applicable no matter what stage you're in. The earlier you start, the better. But as long as you start, no matter where you find yourself in your entrepreneurship journey, having these things, at least a part of the thought process towards your business, is going to be very important. And the more that we can sort of establish these things in your business, the more protected that you'll be. At the bottom of the screen, I am a millennial at heart. And so true to my millennial nature, I've got a lyric from probably one of the greatest rappers of our time, Jay-Z. And the reason why I wanted us to do this process of putting in the chat where we are in our process or in our entrepreneurial journey is because it helps us to kind of build community and network with each other. If there are 2 people who are in the ideation phase, maybe we can ideate together. Maybe there are people who are in the startup phase together. Well, maybe we can start figuring out what we need to do together. And so collaborating and maybe, partnering with each other on different projects and whatnot. So this lyric is something that I carry as like a life motto, if you will, as far as like my approach to business, is that success really isn't determined by where I am. We should measure success by how many people are successful next to us. So if I look to my left and I look to my right, and there are people around me who are also on this entrepreneurial journey, and they're achieving and they're striving and they're checking the things off of their legal checklist, and they're getting contracts and they're getting clients, that's how we measure our success, is that we're connected to people who are also rising and elevating in their entrepreneurial journey. And so if by identifying yourself in phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, we can start to build that community. I think that's 100% necessary and very important for where we're going in all of our journey.
I love what you just said. And, so you're a millennial, I'm so outdated in my generation. I'm a baby boomer.
We need you too, though.
Well, how vast. But you know what? We've got an announcement at the end. We're going to share what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're going to share what we're doing and the urgency of why this is important too. Yeah. We got some GCBM members that are on Facebook Live, and they need to know about this benefit that's coming forth. And we'll tell them about that soon. But I want you to continue. But I have to make a comment about Jay-Z's quote. And then my son, he was on the platform earlier this month, talking about PMP, project management professional. Mm-hmm. But he would argue that with, what's his name? I see him with the hair all over his head. He's married to Beyonce. I'm dating myself. What is his name? Jay-Z. That's Jay-Z. That's Jay-Z. No, the other guy. I know, Kanye. He's married to Kardashian. Mm-hmm. Kanye. He would argue that that's the one. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So, but this is what I'm saying. Whether which one of those artists, it doesn't even matter. It's the greatest. The deal is this. What is so urgent is what he said. It's so true. And I married it to scripture. And when
Mm,
you said it immediately, because what you have to understand, be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners.
yeah.
You are who you associate with.
Mhm.
And be careful who you associate with, because that tells a story about who you really are.
Yep.
And so the opportunity is looking around, and you can measure that
Yeah.
success based upon those that are around you. And when
Yeah.
you look around the table and see who's sitting there with you, that
Yeah.
gives you a good idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And it doesn't even have to be, about like, well, what kind of actual measurables are we talking about? It doesn't
No,
have to be like, oh, that person's getting this much money coming in or
no.
this much revenue generated. Even if that person is just positively speaking into themselves and into the people around them, that's success, because there are so many people out here that are negative and just can't see the sun because of the clouds. And it's being surrounded just by positive people. That's an important thing for your business as
The
well.
mindset. The
Yeah.
mindset is what we're talking about. So no one get it twisted. We're not saying that, oh, I need to trade up because my friends aren't millionaires.
Yeah, no.
I need to be surrounded by, you need to be surrounded by the right energy, the
Yeah.
right vibe is in the room that
Yeah.
will promote you to greater levels of success in
Right.
your life, in your business, in your
Exactly.
pursuits. Awesome.
Exactly.
This is wonderful.
Exactly. All right. So let's jump into some legal stuff now. So regardless of where you find yourself in the phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you have to start thinking about protecting yourself legally for your business. If I would have started thinking about this before I started the Culture Shock years ago, probably would not have ended the way that it ended, but I also probably wouldn't be where I am now. So like I said, nothing in the kingdom is wasted. So no matter where you find yourself on the spectrum, this information is going to be important for you. So no matter what kind of business that you have, maybe you are a hairdresser, or maybe you own an app company, or maybe you are in finance and have your own accounting firm, or maybe you just sell candles or bake cookies, whatever it is, how do we protect that? Because we're not making businesses just so that, we can make money, or that, we can service clients. Those things are important and probably the main reasons why we go into business. But if the vision for your business is something that God gave to you, we have to steward it well. And so we also have to start thinking about, how do we protect that vision? And 3 of the main ways, and the ways that we'll be talking about today, are trademarks and copyrights, which kind of fall into one category of intellectual property. And your business entity is the second one, and contracts are the third. And so those are the major headers for the ways that businesses can at least start the process of protecting themselves. So we'll start with the trademarks. So trademarks, what are trademarks? Trademarks are a source identifier that tells a customer what business is the source of a product or a service. Trademark owners have the exclusive rights to the use of their trademarks, and trademarks allow your business to be protected from other people copying your brand and profiting off of the business reputation that you worked so hard to build. So let's take Nike, for example. Nike has probably one of the most impressive trademark portfolios that I've ever seen. And I'm not claiming to know everything or have seen everything, but just in my time in this area of the law, Nike has a very impressive intellectual property portfolio, specifically on the trademark side of things. So these are some examples of the types of trademarks that Nike has. So they've got their Nike swoosh signature. They've also got the Nike and the swoosh together trademark. They've got the word mark of just Nike trademarked as well. They've also got their slogan, "Just Do It," trademarked. So all of these examples at the bottom are things that Nike has trademarked in different classes. And classes just refers to the category of business that the trademark office has designated your business falls into. So just for reference, there are 45 different classes that you can possibly register in. And those are split up between product-based classes and service-based classes. So Nike primarily has a lot of their trademarks on the product-based side of things, as far as shoes, clothing, bags, and things of that nature. But they've also got some on the service provider side of things, because Nike has started venturing into workout apps and things of that nature, and actually putting on athletic events and things of that nature. And so they've started expanding their portfolio to be able to provide services as well as the products that they've already been known for. So that's just an example of a really good business that has their trademark portfolio in order. But maybe you're asking the question, what can you trademark? So there are loads of things that you can trademark, and here's just kind of a short list of the main things that we see people trademark. So your business name is number one. It's actually where I would start in the process if you have a business, is to go ahead and start with trademarking the business name, because that's going to be everywhere. It's going to be how you market yourself. It's going to be probably all over product placement on your products. It might be what you put on a business card, or how you market your services to the world. That would be where I would start, as far as where you're thinking about like starting the building of your portfolio where it comes to trademarks, is your business name. Next, you can trademark a business logo. You can trademark a t-shirt brand. You can trademark a signature event title. So maybe you're in the coaching space and you're putting on coaching events and things of that nature that's got a really catchy name, and you don't want other coaches in your industry to be able to profit off of that. You can trademark the event title for your signature event title. You can trademark a stage name. So maybe there are some entrepreneurs out here who are also in, to the music business or are performing arts or what have you. You can trademark your stage name. So Beyonce has her stage name trademarked, even though that's her actual name. It is one of the things that she's gone ahead and trademarked for musical performances and things of that nature. You can trademark a blog or a podcast title, an app name, a slogan or a tagline, a catchphrase, the title of a book series, a product name, a nonprofit name, and a program title. And those are just examples of things that businesses can start to think of when it comes to what they want to attach trademark protection to. Just as a note, I know at the beginning of this presentation, I noted that there is a TM symbol next to the title of this presentation, and it's because my trademark application is still pending. And I'll give you a little bit of information about that. It used to take the trademark office anywhere between 6 to 8 months to process application. It is taking significantly longer now because, one, COVID has prolonged the process of everything. Two, the second reason is because they are short-staffed. And the third reason is because there are loads more applications to process than they have staff to process them. And so that's a good thing. And it's also indicative of where we are in our time period. And in that there are a lot of people who have taken the leap to start their own business, and they're realizing that they need to protect that, the intellectual property that's attached to it. So while your trademark application is pending, you can use the TM symbol next to whatever your trademark is. It's only when you get a registered trademark that you can start to use that registered R symbol that you see there in the note. And it's actually a crime to use that registered R symbol without a registered trademark. And so just wanted to put that out there. If there's anyone that has the registered R symbol in their business name or attached to the branding for their business, and they actually haven't undertaken the registration process for a trademark, that is a crime punishable by law. And we don't want that. So now you know and can change it if you need to. So let's keep going.
So if you've coined a phrase and you want to trademark it, that's possible then, right?
It is possible. Right. You can trademark that as a catchphrase, or maybe it's a slogan. So like if we go back to Nike as the example, their "Just Do It" slogan is a trademark, part of their trademark portfolio. So if you got a popular phrase that you use in connection to your business, Beth, I know you use, God has a plan and I'm a part of it. That would be a wonderful trademark that
I've already started the process with an attorney, but I'm going to talk to you offline, and I paid quite a bit of money on that. And the results are just taken, and this is before COVID. Okay. In the midst of COVID, rather. Gotcha. So we'll talk offline about that some more, because I definitely coined that phrase some years ago. And the reason I started trademarking is because my daughter, Dr. Jess, was like, "Mom, I'm seeing too many people publish your saying, and they don't give credit to you for saying it. And these are people that know me and have heard me say it and know that." So we'll talk offline, because I'd like to maybe see how we transition that over.
And so also at the end, if there are any people out there who are wanting to go ahead and start the trademark process, that is something that, you can work with me to do completely. I'm 100% open to it. Trademarks are actually one of my favorite parts of my business that I offer, because it allows me to do what I didn't do back then for people that need to do it now. So it's probably one of my favorite services to provide. So,
and I have to go ahead, because I'm sitting on pins and needles, to just put a little flavoring out there, because I really want to encourage our listeners and our participants to know that when they do business with you, they're actually going to be doing business with Styles Firm as a GCBN corporate sponsor. And so I want to welcome you today, even though we were going to announce it at the end, along with a couple other things we're going to be talking about, and great opportunities in 2022. But I want to encourage those, because we've got some members on the call, that we're looking for additional opportunities to present rates that are applicable. But we're going to cause you to want to level up and elevation in 2022. When you invest in your business, it's important to know that when you invest on good ground, you're just doing nothing but growing your business. So the opportunity here is to understand that it's now time. Now is the time. Now is the season to really dot those I's and cross those T's in your business. And the sooner you do that, because we serve a God of excellence, and these are kingdom businesses that we're talking about. We're putting God back in business. That makes us a kingdom business. Is that not correct?
Yes.
And so right. And so the opportunity is to know, when I level up, that it definitely costs to be the boss, but to know that you're dealing with someone that is of integrity and someone that is also a fellow supporter of GCBN is just amazing to me.
And I'm glad that you started to share a little bit about your personal experience about, trademarking with a lawyer. No matter who you decide to work with, working with a lawyer to file your trademark, it increases your chances of getting a successful registration by 50% off the bat. And of course, that goes up if there are any issues with your application or anything like that, because you don't know what you don't know. And so if we can put experts in place to go ahead and handle the things that they are experts at, it's going to be a benefit to you and your business, and just making sure that things are handled properly. Now, you did say that you have been working with that person for some time. And of course, I don't know anything about that situation, but it is important who you choose to work with. And so whether it be me or another fellow person in my practice field, I just suggest that you work with a lawyer, even if it's not me, because it's important. And I can't tell you how many applications that I've come across, because once you file your application, it's public record. Anybody can see it. And I've come across so many applications that I'm just like, if they would have done this, their application would have been pushed straight through. Or the other thing that I see a lot at the time, and this is another thing that I'm glad that you brought up, because it's triggered me to say this: do not work with the LegalZooms of the world, because they offer a convenient service, but they more times than not end up making more problems for you in the long run, that you have to hire an attorney to now go back and fix.
Wow.
I can tell you how many applications that I've seen that have been filed by LegalZoom, and it's just like, did you even try? Did you spend any time at all researching this brand? And so the heart behind the person that you work with, to just in general, whether it comes to, you know, business partnership, but especially when it comes to the professionals that you're hiring for your business, you want them to be just as excited for your business and just as excited for the success of your business as you are. And so what I can guarantee, at least with me, is that I think of my entrepreneurs and my clients not only where they are, but where they're growing to be. And so I'm thinking of creating household names, not just small businesses that operating on a smaller scale. So the
Girl,
girl is important.
Come on with it, girl. Come on, because that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
See, I'm talking about relationships, and I'm totally excited. I want to put this plug in.
Mm-hmm.
Our theme this year was comeback, hashtag comeback. And next year, our opportunity is elevation, hashtag elevation. You know, we really climaxed that at our God Golfing Girls in August, and have an opportunity this afternoon to hopefully sign that contract. But it's something that Bernice shared in the chat. If I can get there, I'm doing these different opportunities today, so y'all bear with me. But she said the opportunity it is for us to be able to protect. She said, this is a great topic, and it's good to know how to secure it so no one else will try to take advantage of your product or name to profit off of it, which is so true. And thank you for sharing that, Bernice. But the opportunity that I'm thinking is as we move forward into elevation, and, you know, don't get caught up on trying to play chintzy or cheap or play it small. Because where you're going and where God is calling you to, you want to make sure that those I's are crossed and the T's are dotted. Now, Toby put a question out there that maybe you understand what she's saying, because I'm not, I was asking her for clarification on it. What about the SM question, Mark? Is that still a placeholder? I don't know if she's trying to say the TM or the SM, social media.
So the trademark is actually there. The trademark is the general mark that we usually use when we're just talking about a pending application. The SM mark is more referring to the service marks. That's what it stands for. So it's referring to the service side of things. However, even if you have a service-based business, the SM mark isn't widely used. So you can use the TM symbol in place of the SM mark and still have that same notion put out there that your trademark application is still pending, even though you're using the trademark symbol as attached to a service-based business. So you can use them interchangeably.
There you go. When I think SM, in today's, I'm talking social media. Oh, can you just post it? In my head, I was thinking, can you just post it out there? And that makes, I don't know, but I like that.
Yeah. So she's actually talking about the service part of things. So remember when I was talking about the classes and how they're broken up into product.
Excellent. I'm catching up.
The service side of things, but she's a little bit more in tune than most of the people that I talk to, because they don't know anything about the service mark. But you can use the two interchangeably. But if you want to use the service mark, definitely go for it. But you can also use that TM symbol as attached to a pending trademark as well. So
awesome.
All right. So let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about copyright for a second. So copyright is the other part of the intellectual portfolio or intellectual property portfolio that I address, at least with most of my clients. So copyright literally means the right to copy. They made it so complicated. It literally translates to the right to copy. And the default rule when it comes to a created work is that whoever creates it owns it. And so what I'm talking about, let's use the example of a logo. So maybe you worked with a logo designer to create your logo. And some of you already see where I'm going with this. That logo designer created that logo. So the logo designer actually has the copyrights to that logo, not you, the person who paid for the logo, not you, the business who that logo is actually for. The logo designer actually has the copyrights to the logo that they created. And it's because of this default rule that whoever creates it owns it. Now, when we're talking about federal registration, that gives a business the right to print, publish, perform, film, or record literary, artistic, or music material, and authorize others to do the same. So this goes in line with the right to copy language that we were talking about just a while ago. In addition to that, the federal owner has exclusive rights to reproduce the work in copies, prepare derivative works based on the work, distribute copies of the work to the public, perform the work publicly, or display the work publicly. So if we're using our logo as an example that was created by a logo designer for your business, one of the ways that we can get around that, and we'll touch on this a little bit later when we get to the contract portion of the presentation, but one of the ways that we can get around that default rule of whoever creates it owns it is with contract language, one of those contracts being the copyright assignment agreement. And so that can either be its own standalone agreement, or it can be language that is put into a contract that you sign off with or sign off on with your logo designer, whoever's creating a work for you. Maybe you're working with a website designer. There's copyrights to a website as well that you want to make sure you transfer those rights over from the person who created it to the actual business itself. And so that's one of the ways we can get around that default rule of who creates it, owns it, is through contracts. Like I said, we'll get into that a little bit in a second here. But at the bottom here, we've got some pictures here that kind of give an example of some of the types of things that you can copyright. Again, like I said at the beginning, I am not doing something that I'm not preaching something that I'm not willing to do for myself. So here, the first image that you see on the left-hand side is actually a screen grab of the footer of my website. I have gone ahead and secured the copyrights on the federal registration side of things for my website and all of its content. And so one of the reasons why that's important is because you spend a lot of time putting in the language and the verbiage that goes on your website. Maybe you have your slogan attached to your website, or maybe you got a blog attached to your website. All of that information is stuff that you poured your heart and soul into create. And you don't want someone to then be able to see it, say, I like that, and I'm going to take it. And so copyright acts as sort of like the trademark for actual works. The trademarks are attached to like the branding behind your business, a logo, your business name, and things like that we talked about just a second ago. But the copyright is actually going to protect the works and the actual things that you create within your business. So a website is one of those things. The contents of a website is one of those things that you can go ahead and copyright. This microphone actually represents podcast. And so if you've got a podcast that you're doing, or if you've got like a weekly series like GCBN has here, you can copyright the contents of your podcast or your event recordings. Another thing that you can copyright, probably the most common, is a book. It's actually one of my favorite books here of this year, at least. Bamboozled by Jesus, How God Tricked Me into the Life of My Dreams by Yvonne Orji. And so a book is an example of something that you can copyright. And it doesn't have to actually be a physical book. You can copyright ebooks as well. Photographs, which is what that camera stands for. You can copyright photographs. And so just along the same lines of like having a logo designer that created a logo, your photographer that you hire to do photos for you actually has the copyright to those photos. And absent any contract language around that, they actually can control who can use your image. Even though you paid them for it and it's for your business, they can go and reproduce it and sell it off and do whatever they want with it. We just don't want our images out there doing things that we didn't give permission for them to do. So photographs are things that have copyright in them as well, or that you can secure copyright protection for. And of course, the logo at the Apple, for Apple and Mac computers and things of that nature, and iPhone, and their whole conglomerate. That's actually a really impressive intellectual property portfolio. If we're looking for examples to point to, in addition to Nike, Apple has a really, really impressive intellectual property portfolio on both sides, trademark and copyright. So they've copywritten their logo as well. All right, so that's kind of an intro to what copyrights are. And this is just sort of the list of things that you can copyright. So the first thing listed here is music, and second thing is lyrics. And I just want to cover this here because I know earlier we talked about stage names being able to be trademarked. some of the things that also are copywritten are in the entertainment arena. So one of the main reasons why I bring this up is because there's a lot of overlap for entrepreneurs and entertainers, whether that be someone who does both. Maybe they perform music, or maybe they are an actor and they also have their own side business. But there's a lot of overlap of the things that at least the legal side of things that you are going to use to protect your business, whether you are an entertainer or an entrepreneur. So a lot of the things that you see here listed are just kind of like, well, I maybe bake cookies. I'm not going to be copywriting choreography. Well, it kind of applies on both sides of the spectrum, which is why a large part of the clients that I service are actually entertainers as well. So we've got music, we've got lyrics, graphics, sculptures, choreography, literature, videos, photos, like we mentioned earlier. Those are some examples of things that can be copywritten. On the right side of this list are some of the more popular things that entrepreneurs have copyright in or should secure copyright protection to. Books, ebooks, your website content, a podcast, recordings like what we're doing here, logos, your speeches, any presentations or webinars that you're putting on. And so at the beginning of my presentation, you saw that there was some copyright language at the bottom there as well. I'm in the process of copywriting this presentation as well. And so there are things that you can do to protect yourself from having what you created be dispersed without your knowledge or without your permission. So if those are some things that you have in your business, definitely think about securing copyright protection to those things as well. All right, let's keep trucking along here. So I'll take a pause here before we get into the business formation side of things to see if there are any questions in the chat, Beth, that I can answer.
No, not right now. Toby came back and you answered her question related to XSM. And I commented basically from Nicole that said, and hi, Nicole, awesome event last week, that said, thank you for this information. It's great.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good. I'm glad that people are, benefiting from what I've shared so far. And I'm hoping that what I have left to share is just as beneficial.
I just posted a question to the group that is your business at risk for being unprotected? Mm-hmm. And what do you need to copyright and protect in your business from based upon the things that you just shared, especially the column that was bold and related to entrepreneurs predominantly.
Right. That's going to be really important. So if there are any things that you have identified in your business on the copyright or even the trademark side of things that you need to go ahead and start protecting, start making a list of those things. And so that when you talk to an attorney, whether it be myself or someone else, then you can go ahead and start listing off those things so that we can start the process fairly quickly. Instead of having to go and then take inventory of what needs to be trademarked or copywritten, we kind of already have a starting point if you start thinking about those things now. Okay, so let's jump into the business formation side of things. Now, I know a lot of us, when we think about starting a business, we might not think that we need to go ahead and file for an LLC or file for a corporation or file with the Secretary of State just in general. And it breaks my heart that this is a statistic, and this is actually something that I was able to pull earlier this year. The 2021 study hadn't come out just yet. So this is based off of last year's statistic, but I can say probably 9 times out of 10, the statistic has either remained the same or gotten worse. In that, according to a 2020 study conducted by the United States Small Business Association, of all the non-employer businesses, which is most of us, we're in our business by ourselves or we're working with independent contractors, we actually don't have W-2 employees. Of all of those types of businesses, over 80%, yes, 80, are registered as sole proprietors. You're probably like, well, what's the problem with that? Sole proprietor sounds great. From the legal standpoint, it is probably the worst business entity that you could choose because it comes with no liability protection and it doesn't create a level of separation between you, the person, and you, the business. And so if, God forbid, you ever get sued one day, everything that you own personally, along with everything that you own in the business, gets lumped in together and seen as the net value that someone can come and try to attach themselves to or take from you as the results of a lawsuit. And so if you are registered as a sole proprietor, please change it as soon as possible, because it just doesn't protect you at all. So that's that first type of entity formation that you can register with the Secretary of State. And I don't even know why they have that as an option to register as, because it's just like, it doesn't do anything. It has the same effect of if you decided that you wanted to start a hair salon and you are starting out of your home and you just started taking clients. It has the same effect of if you just started doing it, even if you registered as a sole proprietor with the Secretary of State. This effect is the same. There's no protection. There's no nothing. By default, you are sole proprietor if you decided to go into business and you haven't registered as anything separate from that. And so offers no protection, no liability protection, no nothing. And so it's just not the best formation type to choose. The second one that we have listed here is a partnership. Also equally as bad as the sole proprietor, because the partnership is just two sole proprietors who decided to do business together. There is no liability protection there either. It is also offered as a choice on the Secretary of State website. I don't know why, because it offers no liability protection either. So if you're registered as a partnership with maybe you and your spouse, or you and your friend or something like that, you have no liability protection either. It's not till we get to these last two that we start seeing some liability protection attached to the formation type that you choose. First of which being your limited liability company, and then the last one, your corporation. Of those two, most of our average small business owners or entrepreneurs are going to fall into the category of being most benefited by an LLC structure. The benefits of which are generally members are not personally liable for the debts of the LLC, which is, we don't want that. If you have a line of credit on the business side of things, you don't want them to be able to attach that to you personally. It generally does not require any legal formalities and the requirements of a corporation. So some of the things that separate a corporation from a LLC, aside from what you actually register with the Secretary of State, is that the corporation comes along with certain formalities. You have to have meetings throughout the year, and you have to take meeting minutes. There are certain tax things that are attached to a corporation that aren't necessarily attached to the LLC side of things. And so an LLC actually offers that liability protection that you're looking for without having all of the requirements and formalities of a corporation. So it makes it easy to operate and manage for a business owner. And these logos here at the bottom are examples of some businesses that actually started out as LLCs. And so a lot of people, when they start choosing, which one they're going to be, whether they're going to be an LLC or a corporation, people are always after the ink that comes after, filing as a corporation. And it's not necessary. You get the same protections without all of the requirements. And these companies here listed at the bottom are examples of companies that started out as LLCs. So there's nothing wrong with starting out as an LLC. It's not just restricted for small businesses. It's not just restricted for people who haven't, quote unquote, made it yet. It's going to give you that same liability protection without some of the formalities and requirements of your corporation. So if you haven't registered as any of these, I would recommend most of us are going to fall under that LLC structure. And of course, if you need to know specifically for your business, then that's when you start working with an attorney to decide which one is going to be a better fit for you. But on average, an LLC structure is going to be the best for most of us. All right. So I'm going to take another pause here. Are there any questions where
there's a comment out here from Toby? She said, I really needed this information today. Thanks so much. A couple other people have joined in. Please identify yourself. We're so glad you're with us today. I can tell from the number. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad that this is beneficial information. I'm actually going to pop back real quick, just because I just thought of a common question that I usually get when it comes to this side of things. A lot of people start asking, well, should I register it as an S Corp? There are so many people that think that an S Corp is a entity formation that you can choose when it comes to registering with the Secretary of State. An S Corp is actually a tax designation. So you can be an LLC that's taxed as an S Corp, or you can be a corporation that's taxed as an S Corp. It's not its own standalone formation or business entity type. It is a tax designation that you can attach to one of the two. And to know more about like whether or not you should choose that tax designation for your business, I would 100% recommend speaking with an accountant or a finance service provider or what have you, to get some more into the nitty gritty of what your business actually brings in revenue, because that's going to be a part of the discussion to decide whether or not you should be taxed as an S Corp or not. But it is not its own separate business entity. And I can't tell you how many times I see people saying, well, I'm going to file as an S Corp. It's just like, no, you're not. Not with the Secretary of State, at least you're not. Maybe with the IRS, but you're not going to file as an S Corp when it comes to the Secretary of State in most states. All right, so let's keep moving.
And I want to interject here just for a second to make this little shout out for what we're going to introduce in 2022. Mandisa is, from a legal point, is going to be a part of a team that we put together. Kim Smith is a financial coach. So you're going to have financial coach, you're going to have a legal coach, and you're going to have me, leadership development, business coach. And we're going to be able to introduce an intensive. And this is for those that are serious about elevation in 2022, that you want to dot those I's and cross those T's. So look forward to hearing more information, more in-depth related to what she's sharing today. This is on the surface. You'll also have the option of access as a bonus to, help me, Mandisa. What is Lisa? Virtual assistant.
Virtual assistant.
Yes, virtual assistant. Yeah. And so, in project management opportunities. So I wanted to throw that out there to let you guys know that it's an investment in your business, but because you're a GCBM member, you will get an abbreviated cost associated with it. But if you're ready to level up and go to a new level of elevation in your business, I want you to consider and look forward to this information coming forth in the first quarter of 2022.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm really excited for what it's going to be. I know it's going to help a lot of people. I wish I had this course back when I was starting.
I know.
I think I probably would have went about things differently, but again, nothing's wasted in the kingdom. So I'm excited to be able to be a part of this and help more people. So, all right. Let's keep trucking along. We're almost to the end. This is the last part of the presentation, is talking about our contracts. So this is the third way, like we noted at the beginning, how a business can protect themselves. So I'm just going to go over this kind of briefly, just because contracts are so specific and no two contracts are the same. But these are some of the most common types of contracts that we see in entrepreneurship. And then I'm also going to cover some of the things that contracts help to do. So of the types of contracts out there, some of them that are most essential, that's the word that I'm going to use, essential to entrepreneurs, are going to be your independent contractor agreement. And that's going to be the way that you can work with people to come in and do projects for you, but not necessarily have to bring them on as W-2 employees. So these are going to be 1099 employees. And so independent contractor agreement is going to outline the details of that relationship, and also allow for you to have a level of control over how a project is done, but also designate that you are not attaching any liability to the company itself. Now, the second kind is the copyright assignment agreement. We talked about that earlier as a way to transfer copyright ownership to your business. If you work with a website designer to create your website, or if you work with a graphic designer to create your logo, or you work with a photographer who took pictures for you, we can transfer those copyrights that inherently exist in those things over to the business with a copyright assignment agreement. The third type is an operating agreement, and that's going to be what you actually use when you are an LLC. So the state of Georgia, as with most states, or all states rather, has a default set of laws that applies on a broad spectrum to all business types. They have they have it designated out how it applies to an LLC. They have it designated how it applies to a sole proprietor, and so on and so forth. Your operating agreement is how you're going to be able to start creating some rules for yourself, for your business, because sometimes those laws that legislature gets together and puts together for all of us may not be beneficial for every single one of our unique situations. And so an operating agreement is going to be able to allow you to create some specifics that apply to your business and how you want your business to run. The client services agreement is another one. So if you're a service provider, a client services agreement is going to be really beneficial to you, because it's going to be able to outline the expectations that your client can expect from you, and also expectations that you expect from your client. As with all contracts, it's going to have language in there about the terms and how long the contract is lasting. Maybe if there's any compensation that needs, or money that needs to be exchanged as a result of the agreement, what that looks like, how often it's going to be dispersed, when it's going to be dispersed, how much, and things of that nature. And a non-disclosure agreement. And I list this one last because I want to talk about it a little bit more than just kind of briefly like I did with the others. If you are in the ideation phase, so if you identified as a number 1 in the chat, a non-disclosure agreement is going to be very important for where you are right now. You are in the building phase, meaning that you're probably talking to a lot of people about what you want to do with your business. That information is protected information, because you don't want to say, to maybe your friend, or maybe just someone who, is also in business, you don't want to give them your ideas and, try to get feedback from them. And then they say, well, I like that idea for this unique thing that you're doing. I'm just going to commandeer it and do it for myself. A non-disclosure agreement is going to be able to protect you in that they won't be able to disclose or reuse or, commandeer what it is that you're talking about with them for themselves as a result of this non-disclosure agreement. So my number 1's in the chat. That's going to be really important for you. And just generally what contracts help to do, it helps to set expectations between parties. It helps to eliminate any misunderstandings. It outlines the specific terms of an agreement, creates guidelines in case of a dispute. And it also clarifies the liability at stake. If anything goes wrong, we need to understand how this liability is going to play out, and a contract is going to be able to delineate those things from you from the outset, or for you from the outset, so it's not something that's up for debate or discussion at the end. And it's also going to act as like the foundational document if a lawsuit arises. A court is going to want to see what you agreed to. And so if it's there in plain language, that's what a court is going to refer to outside of any verbal agreements or anything that was verbally stated. If there is a written contract, that is what a court and lawyers are going to look to understand what the foundation of a relationship was when it comes to business or just in general. It's going to be in that contract. So contracts are very important as well to our business and how we protect ourselves. So that is the last slide. If there are any questions as it comes to contracts or maybe business formations or trademark or copyrights, keep them going in the chat. Like Beth said, we'll be able to answer those hopefully here on the live. But if there are any that come as a result of the replay, then I'll be able to coordinate with Beth to get you those answers as well. If you're interested in working with me, I've listed my information here. My website is www.stylesfirm.com. You can also find me mainly on Instagram, but I also am on Facebook under the name that you see here listed in the advertisement for today's session. But that's how you can get in touch with me to book a consultation. Just to give you a little bit about how my process works, we book our consultation. I give you the chance to pretty much fangirl about your business. Just tell me everything there is to know, how you started, where you are now, and how I can help. And then we take it from there, and I give you some legal analysis and legal recommendations. And then we just get the process rolling. We start with one thing and we just keep building your legal portfolio for your business. So I'm excited to have been able to talk with you guys today, and hopefully work with a few of you in the near future and answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you, Beth, for having me on as your closeout for the year. This has been an honor and a privilege, and I'm thankful. So
I am so thankful. If you'll stop sharing your slide presentation, we want to just just applaud you for a job well done. I've posted your website information over on Facebook Live to be able to have them to be able to just click on it and it'll take you straight over there.
Perfect.
But also additional information is going to be available to the participants on our website shortly. We're going to have your logo, which will click directly to the site as well. In addition to what I've mentioned and alluded to related to our upcoming business intensive, and where we're going to help you just go to another level just from organization and aligning yourself with the principles that God in his word says, decency and order, and to place things in that order from a financial coach, Kim Smith, the legal aspect, of course, Mandisa Styles with the Styles firm, and then myself from leadership development and business coaching, and from utilizing Lisa Muth as an opportunity for virtual assistant and project management. So some great opportunities there unfolding. What I'd like to encourage those that were on the call today and those that listen to the replay, don't wait until that intensive. Go ahead and reach out for an one-on-one, one-to-one consultation with Mandisa. She's certainly certified and she's most definitely experienced. So some great opportunities for you to get connected. Now, I positioned her for this. We had really planned to maybe cut off the year a little bit earlier. And I was like, no, we've got to add this to the end of the year to allow an opportunity for our business members and our GCBN community to hear from her, because the opportunity is to finish well. We will apologize for going over just a little bit today, but I think it was worth it. Don't you guys think it was worth it? Yeah, most definitely. So please, what I'd like to also mention at this point is, listen, 2022, the year of elevation. God has blessed us. Truly, we've experienced a comeback. I know there were challenges in some regards, and there's going to always be challenges. And I'm not trying to cause anyone any fear, to discourage anyone. But it's what you do and how you respond to the challenges that's going to determine what your level of success that you experience. And so what God has really placed on my heart, he gave it to me several months ago, that we're going to focus on elevation in 2022 from Georgia Christian Business Network. We have an amazing platform kickoff for 2022 on our platform. I'm going to open us up on January 4th, and I'm going to talk about soaring through negative elevation. And then following me on the 11th is Erica Jackson, a GCBN corporate sponsor, that's going to come in and talk about Let's Elevate. The view along the way is going to be exciting. And so then following her on the 18th is Gregory Levitt Jr. Bernard. I call him Bernard Levitt Jr. And he says, let's elevate from a different perspective. See elevation from a different perspective. And then we've got Crystal Parker, who's coming. He's also a GCBN corporate sponsor. And then there's Crystal Parker, who is the president and founder of the Central Florida Chamber of Commerce. And I promise you, she has a dynamic presentation on elevation through submission. And I've got those things memorized. I did not read them off because these are some powerful, I've got the bullet points, Lisa and I, and you'll have to, it's really started today. Yeah. We're positioning for 2022 because you're part of that powerful lineup, Mandisa. And there's others that are going to come. As far as Wellness Wednesday, Pamela and Rich are all ready to talk about hope. We've already got it. It's going to be an opportunity to encourage you to have hope that where you are today is not where God has destined you to be for tomorrow. And so great things are coming in 2022 for Georgia Christian Business Network. I want to take this opportunity, and I think I'll get back out here another day before the holiday is, to just go live to say thank you for those that have supported us in 2021 to experience this awesome comeback. but there's another opportunity awaiting. We still need sponsors. We still need you to join as a member and just to share this video opportunities on our Take Charge Wednesday calls, and also for our, our Take Charge Tuesday and Wellness Wednesday platforms. We're putting out great information to help GCBN business members, business professionals, and our communities and sponsors to do greater things for the kingdom of God as we are focused, determined, and intentional to put God back in business. Visit our website, www.gcbnetwork.com, for opportunities where you can see, where you can plug in as a member or a sponsor and to find out what's happening here. We want you to stay abreast of these outstanding opportunities that are forthcoming. Mandisa, again, thank you so much for this valuable information that you've shared with us today. Outstanding. I promoted it as dynamic, and you proved it. You understood the assignment today and delivered graciously and excellence in every aspect. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Beth, and thank you everyone who tuned in or will tune in.
Yes, from the replay for sure. So thanks again, guys, for joining us over on Facebook Live. If you have any more questions, I was just going to do one last check. Please feel free to reach out to Mandisa directly. You're going to see a lot of her going forth in 2022. Thanks again. We appreciate you guys. Mandisa, we will definitely be in contact. Okay.
Sounds
Take
good.
care.